What's this thing?
Let's keep it going. So,
Oh.
do you want to just say who you are?
I'm
And,
Caleb Stead. Do I talk? Do I look at the camera?
You
Or
can
look
look
at
at the camera.
I'm
Look
Caleb.
at
Can we
you
hold
want.
hands? Is that
We
a
can
little
if you
much?
want.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy, that is so wobbly.
It is. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Caleb Stead.
How long have you been in real estate?
Oh boy, I don't know. I have no idea. No idea.
Were you
8, 9,
before or
10
after me?
years. Right there. Remember we fought it out. You were what's his face's golden child. So
Yes,
anything I possibly did in real estate, and I killed it my first year. Like I really did. I was making big waves, and it was always like, oh man, you should really get with Spencer. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, forget that I've done $4 million this year and don't know what I'm doing, but yeah, I'll go talk to Spencer.
Yep.
I'll go see what he's doing. You were the golden child of old Keller Williams.
Probably was.
Yeah, you were. Did you get Rookie of the Year?
No.
Nope, sucker. None
Got
of us
second.
did. Yeah. Second? There is no second.
There's second.
No, there's not.
They're second.
Maybe
up here. There's
yeah,
second.
you threw a fit. You're like, what was it? And they're like, oh, you're second.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay.
Second. Yeah.
Jeff told me the same thing. I was second, so I don't know. We'll have to compare.
Maybe we all got second.
Yeah, you probably have a spreadsheet with those numbers on them. Don't you?
I do. Yeah, I do. Still tracking. I know who got first, and I know where our numbers are versus hers.
Yeah, every day you're like, yes,
Yeah.
just a little.
Remember how I didn't
Yeah.
get that? Why'd you get into real estate?
My mom. That's kind of a backwards way. So, before real estate, is that like question number 3 here coming up?
No.
No. Okay. Before real estate, I worked at State Farm for 10 years. And my wife Andrea was becoming a nurse, and I didn't like my job at State Farm anymore. My job kind of started off training new agents. Like the first year of their business, I'd go out and meet them. Talk them through the auto side of things, and then maintain their progress throughout the year, and then do a final thing to make sure they're qualified to be an agent. That's all the State Farm stuff. And I did that kind of thing for 6, 7, maybe 8 years, and it was really cool. Like I really thought when I got into there, like this was the place I was going to retire.
At State Farm?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
For whatever reason, it felt like it was kind of a good atmosphere. It was kind of like it was all positive. It was good and stuff like that. Then they had what do they call that? Like a big company that comes in and tell you how you're running your company wrong. What do they call that?
Evaluation.
Consultant. They had a consultant come in, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you're doing everything wrong." Blah 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 blah. So State Farm did a big shift. It used to be like they were like 60s, 70s, 80s. They tried to get into these small suburbs of bigger areas because they would retain employees better that way.
Yeah.
So that's why they came to West Lafayette. So all of State Farm operation centers were in these weird smaller suburbs of places, and they would retain their employees. So this company came in and said, "Hey, you're doing this all wrong. You need big operations centers. You need 4 big operations centers." So then they were like, "Okay, we're gonna." They did away with my position of training the agents. Somebody else took that over, and then I was just working the normal job, which was really like mind-numbing factory work, and it was just I absolutely hated it. And so then State Farm said, "Hey, we're going to close down these operation centers. We're going to move these big buildings." And at the time, Andrea, my wife, had graduated, was starting to become a nurse. I had graduated with a computer technology degree.
Okay.
So I was like interviewing at school systems and stuff to kind of be their tech guy. And then she got a job at Franciscan. My wife got a job at Franciscan. And so I was like, okay, now she's making enough money at the time, was making enough money. It was like, I can do whatever I want. I can try whatever I want. We're not just solely based on my income at this point. So, Mom was doing real estate at Keller Williams. She had a team thing going. Courtney, my sister, was working as her admin assistant at that time. And they were like, yeah, you should get your license and do it. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to. And I knew Andrea was starting her job like in May. So I knew that I could quit my job in June. And this was like, let's say, January when I pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
Right? So I signed up for real estate class, in-person real estate class. And then I signed up online real estate class. So I did both of them. Because...
Wow. Overachiever.
Well, no. I needed to do it quickly. I wanted to do it quickly. I wanted to be licensed and by April and my first deal done by May. That way I could, June, when I quit, I would know what I was doing. Yeah. Which is so flipping crazy to think about, right? It was like, yeah, I'll get it in April and I'll know exactly what I'm doing by June. So when I do this full time, I'll just be killing it.
Yeah, just one deal.
One deal. That's all I thought. I really honestly thought that. And so I would go to the real estate class. It was like every Thursday, whatever.
Yeah.
I would do that. and then I would online throughout the week. I would do way more than I was supposed to, and that inevitably led to me. I told the teacher of the class, I said, "Hey, I'm doing this online, and I'm going to do that, so I'm going to be way ahead of you guys. Can I just come in and ask you my questions and then leave?" And they were like, "Yeah, sure, do that." So I would come in the mornings, I would do all that stuff, and then leave before the class even started. And then I ended up doing it in 3 months, passed the test in April, got my first deal done by May, and started in June.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't know anything about anything.
Real estate's a never learning journey. I feel like sometimes it's like we still don't know anything. There's always something random.
Oh yeah.
Thing
Like some
never heard of that before.
Yeah. Do you ever get like anxiety a little bit? Not anxiety, but maybe like imposter syndrome of like somebody asked you like something you should probably know? Like, "Oh, hey, what's this mean on the contract?" But yet you've said your spiel about the contract a million times.
Yeah.
You don't know how to say it a different way.
Yeah.
Like that's what I hate. I know this, but I can't explain this to you any differently than what I just explained it to you.
And I've done that before where it's like, I don't know, let's read it together.
Yeah. That's a good question.
Yeah, let's just see what the
I gotta
words
use
say.
the restroom real quick. I'll be back. And you're like Googling, like, okay, I got it.
There's nobody that's perfect and understands that all.
No, and especially being an independent contractor. I mean, like, places try their hardest to get you to where you're going, but really it's
up to you.
a lot of self-taught. Yeah. So, that's how I got into real estate. So I started real estate. I joined, at the time, it was the Green Rock team, and that was my mom, Laura Guess, Doug Brownie, Gary Thompson.
Yep.
Courtney was the admin. And they had a couple other people on there. Laura Cole, do you remember her? She's at Caldwell Banker Shook, I think, right now.
Yeah.
She was on there. And then Calvin inevitably went with Gary on the team. So I did that. Did the team thing for about 6 months to it couldn't have been a full year. And then my mom got blood clots in her lungs and was kind of freaked out. So she was like, okay, I'm kind of done with real estate.
Yeah.
So at that time, Courtney and I had the option, we had to figure out what we were doing. So we started our own thing, and that's what we've been doing.
So what's your perspective on, like, if you're a new agent, you could do it over again. What's your perspective on team versus no team?
It's hard. It's really, really hard.
Hard on your own or hard for both? Or hard to decide?
Hard to decide.
Okay.
I think you have to take self-inventory. I think you need to know what your expectations are and what you're capable of. I think those are the two things. Like, when I first got into real estate, I was like, a freaking trained monkey could do this job. Like, it's absolutely, like, the fact that not everybody's a realtor, I couldn't understand that. Because it was like, you answer your phone, you know where to go, they like it, they write an offer, you write the offer.
Yep.
And so it was just like, I was like, no, anybody could possibly do this. And I told everybody, I told tons of people, like, anybody can do this job. You can do it.
Yeah.
And so then I had people doing it, and then they didn't make it. And I was like, well, why didn't they make it? And we've talked about this, but we call it hustle, but I don't know what the direct term is, right? The correct term is
grit,
hustle.
Maybe hustle.
Like grit is probably a good one. This idea of, like, the reason I'm answering my phone constantly is because there's a desire to answer that phone, right? For me, it's like, oh crap, this is the next sale. And if I don't answer this, then Spencer's going to get the call and he's going to get the next sale.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what it is.
But I mean, like, and we're friends, but we know that, right? Like, and so for me, it's like, oh no, I'm constantly boom, 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 boom. And I think there's another aspect too of like especially early on in my career, when I had a buyer that wanted a specific house, that was my goal for that week, was finding that house for that person, right? So if they're like, oh, I want this old school farmhouse in the country, I'm calling everybody I know who has an old school farmhouse in the country, wanting to know if they want to buy. I'm going out to the country. I'm door knocking. I'm doing everything I could possibly do because in my mind, I had somebody that wanted to buy something, and that's how I get paid.
Yeah.
So for me to do that, I then have to find that, right? And that's the hustle, that's the grit, that's the stuff. And
totally agree with that.
And I don't think that can be taught either. I think that's embedded in you.
Yeah.
I mean, from a really early age, I remember in like middle school, like wheeling and dealing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I want that. That costs $20. I'm gonna sell these. I can buy these for $4, sell them for $5. Blah 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 blah. And it's like this whole weird economy, and that's what real estate was for me. That's the hustle. That's the grit, and that can't be trained or taught or anything. And so for some people that don't have that, it's that team mentality that would really benefit them.
Yeah.
And so it's this idea of like, my team's going to help me out when I can't do this. If I need a house, I can pitch it to my team and see what they have.
Yep.
My team will door knock. My team will give me answers. My team will help me out in this. And so if you're that kind of person that can't not commit, but there's a lack of hustle, lack of grit.
Self-driven.
Yeah, self-driven.
Yeah.
Then I think a team is a great aspect. I think if you're a part-time agent, which is like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be saying this, but I totally disagree with part-time agents.
Yep.
I think it's a complete detrimental to the buyer and the seller because you're not answering. I mean, how many times? I mean, I've gotten phone calls on Zillow from people saying, "I need to see this house now. My realtor works till 6 and I can't, and they're not showing it to me."
Yeah.
And I mean, like, so if you're part time, that really sucks, and you're in that boat. But I will say, if you're part time, you need to be on a team, or you need to have a structure underneath you of where you can have somebody go to a showing. I mean, I'm full time, and the amount of clients and stuff we have, I have showing assistants constantly. Like right before we came in this room, I'm like texting 5 people like, "Hey, can you show this house tonight?" Because now I can't do it because I'm doing 4 other things.
Yeah.
So if you're part time, you definitely need on a team. If you're not self-driven, I think the team helps benefit.
Yep.
And if you're not for sure about this job too, and you want to like, what is that? Risk management, cost management. You know, you're like, okay, if I go on my own, it's going to cost me X amount for signs, X amount for board fees, X amount to get advertising, X amount for this, mug shots, all that crap. Mug shots, yeah. Mug shots, good.
That's
Good.
for
Yeah. Well, half the realtors have mug shots anyways, but
yeah. From 20 years ago.
20 years ago, crap. There's some of them that were in the paper last week.
Dude, I have one over there. You can see it. 8 years ago.
Nice.
Isn't that
cute.
weird?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like baby Spencer.
It looks like you spray painted your hair on in that one.
Well, it's because I used to just get it cut, and I think it was just like I had him do like a 3 razor all over. Like there was no style. Not that I'm like stylish now, but
it was like too long to be a buzz cut, but really a buzz cut.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was like there was no shape to it. So
that's cute.
My boy Kev's hooking me up now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can you put photos on there on the video? You should definitely have your old photo pop up real quick.
I should.
Like creep up.
I need to be creative enough to do that.
Yeah.
We'll work on it. This is a work in progress.
Yeah. Mug shots. So if you don't have money or you're afraid, you're like, hey, I don't know if this is going to last a whole long. Because we see people, agents come in that are by themselves that spend a lot of money to get their stuff going and they're gone within a year.
Yep.
So if you're like, okay, I don't know. And that's kind of what I did back, you know what I mean? I didn't plan on that, but it was like I didn't want to fully invest. And then, so I dipped my toe in it, and I'm like, okay, I can do this. I'm good at this. I like this. And then fully commit. You save some money that way, too. So, yeah, that's what I would say. Team, not team. It depends on who you are.
Is there anything that's happened for you that you didn't envision that was going to happen when you first got into real estate?
Yeah. Yeah, we're friends. That's one.
That's true.
That's one. Like, in all honesty, we went, 3 years? Of not, like, it wasn't like dislike. It wasn't like...
It might have been
a little bit of dislike, but it was like, oh, yeah, Spencer. The only time I saw you was when you were going into your office with a sign on this door that said, do not disturb, because I'm cold calling. And I'm like, oh, man, this guy's real cool. Like, we're sitting there playing NBA Jam, farting around, talking about TV shows, watching the Big Ten tournament, and he's like, hey, can you quiet down? I'm cold calling here. Yeah. So, no, there was, no. That was a big thing, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it really, but no. Yeah, so my wife and I have had conversations about how you gain knowledge with certain stuff, and that's going to make you feel more secure in your decision, right? So a great example, there was an episode of King of Queens that we watched the other night where they buy a house to flip.
Yeah.
And they had to use all their money to do this, and Doug, the husband, was like, Carrie wanted to, Doug didn't want to, and Carrie was like, no, we have the money, we can do this. And Doug was like, we have no idea what we're doing. You're an idiot. This is going to screw up badly for us. And it did screw up badly for them. But I think the more you're into something, the more knowledge you gain, and the more it does not become a risky move for you, right? We're in the process of flipping a house.
Yeah.
Early stages of flipping a house together. And
time out. That's something we wouldn't have pictured.
No, yeah.
8 years ago, it's like you said we were going to flip a house together.
8 years ago, friggin' 5 years ago, we wouldn't have done that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, think about how insane that is.
It is crazy.
But so for us, like that was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Like we are spending a crazy amount of cash, right? I mean, I think back to my State Farm days where like I had to change my tires and it was like $200, and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to survive this week. Like, okay, it's ramen now. And now we are throwing mass amounts of cash at something. And that's like, it sounds, oh, we're so rich and blah, blah, blah. But it's an abnormal amount of cash to throw at something.
Yeah.
But we know how secure it's not a bet.
Yeah,
it's not a bet. It's an investment. 100% it's investment, not a bet. There's zero risk involved with this. Zero risk.
And I think we understand the value so well on property, and I think that's something that I didn't know either, is like how much, one, real estate was an asset, and then two, how well you can understand the value of something.
100%.
We went in this property and it has fleas, so we quickly got out of the property. Never went upstairs and said, "Yeah, it's still a good deal. Let's buy it." So we don't really know what we're getting into.
Yes, but it was okay. Here's what we're buying for. From an outside perspective, just looking at the house, we're like, okay, we know the number of beds, number of baths, square feet. It's going to be about 30,000 to fix it up.
Yeah,
and we know that.
Yeah,
but going
and
before
there's so
real
much value in that.
Yeah, before real estate, you have no idea, zero idea. And like when you're talking about this mass amount of money, like it's daunting. Like that's what I keep going back to, like how anxious I was about money before when I was working at State Farm, and I would never have invested in any of these things. But gaining knowledge and just seeing the market, going in houses and being like, oh yeah, I sold that one next door. This is what I sold it for. So they want to sell this for this. I could do it, put this in, and make this much money. And it's not. So I think that, and I think rentals. Rentals is a huge thing.
Yeah.
And how many, like, being in an office, not only a realtor, but being in an office where you're hearing people do things, right? So we have a pretty tight-knit group, and we can pull a lot of positives, but we can also pull a lot of negatives and say, oh, he did this, he bought 10 in 6 months, that was too much, and now he's screwed on repairs. Yeah. Oh, so when I go to do it, I need to space it out better. I need to
learn from each other.
Yeah, and so learning that knowledge, learning the rentals, learning the market, learning everything, it makes everything a lot easier to go in. And I think that's with every single job, right? Like when I started State Farm Insurance, I didn't know crap about insurance. Like, so the more I did, the more I gained. It was like, oh, so when I went to get my insurance, I was like, oh, I don't need this, and this, but I do need this, and this.
Yeah.
So there was knowledge there. So real estate, dealing with this, I think about the stock market. Do you think like that's how brokers have to be, right?
Yeah.
They
understand a stock the way that we understand that house.
100%, and that's why it's so easy for them to do that, and so hard for us to do that.
Yeah. And we don't even know. We're like, I don't know. We don't know. We're your guy in that situation. Where it's like, we're idiots. This is dumb.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Put on money in the S&P and forget about it.
Yeah, I tried to learn that stuff, and just because I'm not there every day, you're not getting, like, you can read books and books and books, but until you're there and you're seeing people do it, then this is just not there. Yeah.
Last thing, one piece of advice. Yeah, this has been a lot of time.
Oh,
I don't know. But
what do they normally go for?
We're making the rules.
I thought it was gonna be like an hour. Last thing, you got like 8 questions there.
We got through most of them.
All right.
What's one thing of advice you give to somebody that's thinking about getting into real estate or new in real estate?
One piece of advice. It's hard. Yeah. Real estate is freaking hard.
Especially now.
Yeah. People, we get this funny idea, and don't get me wrong, we like, there is a vast majority of agents that this is their job, is to just open the door.
Yeah.
Right? That's all they do. But a really good agent that does a lot of business, does this full time, it's about putting out fires.
Yep.
Right? So we're not opening the door, we're not writing a contract. That stuff's the easy stuff. It's the phone calls at like 7 p.m. from the lender saying, hey, this isn't going to go through unless we can do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And you had to do X, Y, and Z without letting the person know that way. So when we get to the closing table, they don't know anything about anything, right? And so they're thinking, oh, you're making a lot of money. You didn't do anything. And you smile, yep, I did. I appreciate that. But there is a lot of stuff behind the scenes that'll keep you up at night. It'll make you. It's hard to sleep. People railroad you unfairly and sometimes fairly.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely a stressful job. So that's what I would say. Piece of advice: it's not easy. There are some realtors out there that make it look easy, but it's not easy. No. Not easy at all.
Definitely not. Cool. Well, thanks for taking time.
Yeah, anytime.